Our guest today in this IPI Global Observatory interview series with candidates vying to become the next United Nations Secretary General is Igor Lukšić, former Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of Montenegro. I'm going to be asking Dr. Lukšić the same four questions that we are putting to the other candidates for Secretary General, whom we are interviewing for the Global Observatory. We have shared these questions with him in advance, as we have with all the other interviewees. First question. The United Nations Charter describes the Secretary General as the, quote, chief administrative officer of the organization, unquote, and the person who can call the attention of the Security Council to matters the Secretary General believes may threaten international peace and security. But the job has evolved into something much more than that. A mix of global diplomacy and oversight of the UN's Executive Office, serving the three pillars of the organization: human rights, peace and security, and development. How would you shape the job and define your priorities for the office?
Absolutely. I think that you're right when you say that over the years it has evolved into something much more complex. And people's expectations grow tremendously. I think the current process of selection of the next Secretary General, which is more transparent, more open than it has ever been before, also increases expectations of the people. And sometimes you're faced with questions that actually go beyond what the really competence of the Secretary General is. And one has to balance that. I think Secretary General, first of all, should be able to understand the context, the international context and the challenges which are changing rapidly, should be able to use all the tools United Nations have to respond to these three pillars: human rights, development, and peace and security. And I think the next Secretary General should not be reinventing the wheel. I think should be able to deliver on vast agenda that has already been adopted, and be able to make UN fit for purpose. I think that can be done by doing this job in a bit different way, in a more proactive way, in a more interactive way with different structures. I think chief stakeholders are there to be talked with basically on a daily basis, and also other stakeholders, as a Sustainable Development Agenda, for example, shows that it cannot be only about climate change. It cannot be only member states dealing with climate change policies. It must be also academia. It must be private sector. It must be also civil sector. So all the stakeholders should be summoned, and I think it is the United Nations that should lead the effort.
The second question is, can you discuss aspects of your background and professional career that manifest, one, proven leadership, managerial abilities, and strategic vision; two, extensive experience in international relations and multilateral diplomacy; and three, strong global communication skills?
I think when I had the privilege of serving my country in different capacities, as finance minister for 7 years, as prime minister for 2 years, and also as a foreign minister 3.5 years, almost 4 years. And plus I was also a parliamentarian. So I've done a lot of work in the public sector. I also had certain experience with the civil sector, and I've been also academician myself. So I've been able to reach out to different structures and to understand the needs of different structures. So I think all that what I've done can verify, I think, managerial experience and the ability to make right decisions at the right time, and making my country meet modern standards, be able to integrate into supranational organizations, and also be able to, and this already fits into the more diplomatic skills, regional cooperation in our immediate region, but also wider than that, being able to reach out to different parts of the world to make sure that we develop cultural ties, but also economic ties, because that's the platform we need to develop, and that is the most powerful preventive diplomacy tool. So I think that all can serve the argument of showing my case as someone who is eligible, I hope.
The third question is the 2030 Agenda and the Paris Agreement afford the UN an opportunity to move forward under the most comprehensive Sustainable Development Agenda in its history. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals, known as the SDGs, have universal application to all countries, from north to south. They integrate the three fundamental aspects of development: economic, social, and environmental. And they include issues that were once outside the scope of development, particularly peace and climate change. How do you see the Secretary General's role in promoting and prioritizing this overall agenda?
Absolutely. I think in the long run, it is the development that, if we focus our efforts on, will also reduce peace and security and humanitarian costs. So this is what we should be concerned with, the lack of development in years to come. So I think Sustainable Development Agenda exactly focuses where we should, what we should think of and where we should go. I think it is complex, but it is a phenomenal process of bottom-up process of defining global agenda, and we need to focus all our abilities to master collective wisdom. UN should be leading, should be campaigning, but also I think should help other regions and other countries figure out the best way ahead. And that's why I think that SDGs should be in a way cluster shaped with leading agency fund programs, UN agency fund programs leading for every goal in a cluster shaped structure. So there's no competition between UN agencies. There is complementarity and joint work, multi-sectoral work to avoid duplication and to make sure that the next generation of development assistance frameworks actually works to reflect the best sustainable development agenda and all it brings with, because it relies, as you said, on economic, cultural, social aspects, and also can serve to build partnerships with other stakeholders, private sector, civil sector, and others, to make sure that we're on the right track. Countries can be supported with that, and that's what UN, among many other things, can also do in a nice way. So that's how I see Secretary General's role: to lead, to campaign for the implementation of SDGs, to make sure that it belongs in the center of all our efforts. Of course, it's much easier to say this than to do, but I think we have a genuine opportunity, a genuine chance to make this complex agenda really heart of our both national and multilateral efforts.
And lastly, an open question. Is there something you would like to elaborate on or emphasize in outlining your thoughts on the job of UN Secretary General and its possibilities?
What I guess, in a way, distincts my campaign and my vision statement from others is that not only do I try to come up with very concrete proposals how to deliver on agendas, because on all these agendas we talk about, because I think we're all good in providing diagnosis of where we are, what the situation is. I think now we need to move into the next stage of offering very concrete proposals how to change things. But what also distincts my vision statement and my efforts from, I believe, other candidates is the emphasis I put on the young people and the youth. We need to figure out and we need to understand that the youth and people who are under 25 make 48% of the global population. And it is them who all too often feel disillusioned nowadays. We need to be able to offer them windows of opportunities. UN should lead the effort in stimulating member states and regional arrangements to think creative way of engaging with the young people, because young people are the biggest asset we have. But also, if they are disillusioned, if they don't perceive windows opportunities, it may turn turn to a big risk, because then they easily get seduced by fundamentalistic ideologies, and other problems are then easy to see emerge. So that's, I think, what I'd like to do as Secretary General, to try to engage more with worldwide youth.
Igor Lukšić, thank you very much for talking to the Global Observatory.
So much. My pleasure.